These are my 3 audience members, all over the age of 16. Hi, this is Crystal Johnson, and this is Graffiti is Art Too. So when you picture graffiti, you often picture a lot of gang violence and criminal activities because of its associations, but what I picture is the graffiti that goes on trains. But it always confuses me, because how are they able to keep up with the trains when doing the graffiti? In all seriousness though, graffiti is a very big part of our world. It's everywhere. Just go to any big city and you can see it. You can find graffiti on buildings and walls. It's everywhere. So today I'm going to be talking about how it's a valid art form and how it should be protected and cherished as such. So I'll be going over how its expressiveness and its historical significance, and also some famous artistic figures that broke the law regularly in their art. So graffiti is very expressive and creative. Its bold lines and its bright colors often attract a lot of really interesting audiences. A very famous graffiti artist who resides in New York, and he's very infamous, is known as Banksy, and he's been quoted on saying it's just as good a canvas as any to do his political stances, because not only is it associated with gang violence, because it's often known as a territorial thing, tagging is very common, but it can also just be an art form for people to release their artistic creativity. And not only that, it can also be used for its political uses. These two are Banksy's most famous pieces, and it can be used to express messages that someone needs to express. Many people have been arrested in other countries and such for it because of its political movements and also its vandalism. And as well as its political significance, it also has great historical significance. People have been etching on walls for as long as walls have existed. There have been signs in ancient Rome and old Mexican and Aztec civilizations of people vandalizing walls. These are remnants of Pompeii that were preserved in the molten lava when it got covered. And this is an imitation of the Mexican murals found in the Aztecs communities. So it's been around for a long time. It's not a more recent trend. As well as its historical significance, it's also free. You can find it anywhere, and most of it is a lot better than modernistic art. A lot of modernistic art is just staring at blank canvases and calling it art, or boring structures, and it doesn't have any real emotion or feeling behind it, and it's just not interesting. But graffiti is. It's very bold and bright, and it can be all sorts of different colors and shapes, and it's very cool. So as well as that, there are a lot of artists you may recognize that have done a lot of illegal things in the name of their art, not just vandalism. For example, Beethoven, he was arrested for being drunk and disorderly because he was trying to find inspiration in the alcohol for his music. He was a famous composer. Despite trying to convince the police that he was the greatest composer of his time, they still arrested him for being drunk out in the streets and causing a scene. Another one was Da Vinci. He was convicted of sodomy, and he was actually on the run for 2 years because he was trying to find motivation in his love life. One of the most famous examples is Michelangelo, who had a number of crimes related to his art. He painted the Sistine Chapel ceiling, which is one of his most popular ones, but it was discovered in recent years that he painted a lot of very crude things and very insulting things that you couldn't see from the ground, and you couldn't really see, they couldn't see it back then, so they didn't know until after he died, but he basically was committing blasphemy against the Catholic Church. He also, he created one of his most famous works of vandalism and plagiarism. He created an imitation Roman statue, broke one of the arms off, and covered it in an acidic solution to make it look old, and then said he found an old Roman statue. And when people believed him, he said, well, I can do it as he showed them the arm and said, well, I can make sculptures just as well as the ancient Romans did, so I'm just as good as artists as the ancient Romans. And one of his other things that he did was he desecrated corpse to make sure that he was painting bodies correctly, which was a very treacherous act in his days. So, in conclusion, graffiti is a valid art form, and it should be protected by copyright laws and such, and it should be cherished as a valid art form. So, thank you.